All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Support webinar. Today's date is November the 25th, 2019. This is a Monday night webinar, and the title of tonight's webinar is Box It In, Take the Trade Using Lines and Support and Resistance. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar, other webinars we have, our live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? All right, if not, we're going to go ahead and get started. Didn't get the email for the webinar, Kenneth says. Okay, by the way, if anybody ever misses out on the webinar, just real quick, let me show you something here that you'll want to go to, because we try to get those out every evening, but there's times that who knows, what could have happened as far as that goes. But if you ever don't get an invite, or maybe you've accidentally clicked unsubscribe or something like that, which we've had happen, and we've had to resubscribe people. I'm not saying that happened in this particular case, by the way, but just go to the member login area, and when you log in under your member login, you'll see the links for the trading room and the webinars. This is tonight's webinar right here. Okay, Sebastian says he didn't get one. Oh, you didn't get the reminder from GoToWebinar. Okay. Well, sometimes it's supposed to do it within an hour of a particular webinar, but I haven't seen them always do that. It's kind of haphazard, and it could be. We'd have to check and see if the webinar, when it was actually copied and pasted, who knows, maybe that little deal is left off of it. I'll check that, make sure. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and go into a chart. Always for 5 years so far, huh, Kenneth? That's weird. Okay. I understand that. Well, let's go ahead and go over just for the fun of it. All right, now I think everybody can clearly see here that unless things change for the drastic, we're looking more than likely, don't you think, at still shorts, right, if this was to retrace. Now, can you take a retrace trade, though, against the trend if you want to? For instance, if you wanted to box in a trade and take a chance at it, could you do it? And I'm here to tell you that if you do it, you'll more than likely have to, for instance, if I was to take this trade like on a trend line break, to give an example, I'd have to put my stop here. And it could crater and just keep on trucking down too. But, what I'm going to talk about tonight is quite a bit of good retracement trades and getting into support and resistance. But keep in mind on support and resistance, let me just bring this up over here. This is our little chart that we like. And if you happen to look at this particular chart here, you'll clearly see that you have support and resistance areas in different places on each one of these types of lightning, right? For instance, if I was going to trade this particular one and I wanted to be for sure, absolutely, that it was changing, trends. Let's say this had been heading down instead and this was the first break. Well, obviously you'd take a break above that, right? Or in the case of this, you do something like this if you could figure out the very low of it, when you got that higher low. Okay, this is what we're talking about boxing in. This is why we use lightning 3, 2, and 1, because this is virtually the same thrust, retrace, and thrust, just done on lightning 1, lightning 2, and then lightning 3. Okay, so when we talk about, for instance, let's say that you had decided, and I've gone over this quite a few times, but let's go over it again. Let's say that you saw this happening in real time and you saw high, lower, low, lower high, lower low, but it still just barely took out this one to the left, which they do a lot. They'll just take it out by maybe a tick or so. Okay, then we as traders have to get to where we teach ourselves to box this in right here. Okay, That's what we're doing all the time. That's that spot right there. Finding that bottom is the hard part. Not really. Not really. If a person actually looks for, you know, for instance, when this was stair-stepping down, didn't it have to start stair-stepping back up? So when did it start stair-stepping back up? Well, let's clean this off just for a second. Bear with me a second. I'm going to get that same chart again. We'll just clean this one off and I'll get it again. Bear with me a second. 1 second. See if I can find it. I should have actually had 2 copies of it, but let's just find it again. There it is right there. All right, bear with me 1 second. I'll bring the screen back up. All right, so basically, see, let's see who asked that question. Just 1 second. Finding that bottom is the hard part. The beauty of that is, on that question there, is where was this bottom actually on this particular chart right here? You know, now you didn't know it was here until when? Well, it didn't keep stair-stepping down, did it? It started stair-stepping up. So that's literally right there would be your entry, and that's why we box these in. That's why it's so important to box in your trade. The way we teach this entire system is boxing in. Okay? Everybody see what I'm talking about there? You have a low here, you have a high here, and you have a higher low here. And the moment this becomes lightning, you know, taking out that swing, that's actually that little box that we talk about. You know, you're actually just boxing it in. Kind of hard to draw on that. Everybody see that? So that's what we're looking for on this. That's why we use the lightning 1s and 2s. For instance, on this one, you didn't really know that this was your low except for the fact that it didn't take out the previous low. So could you have boxed this one in also? Well, you'd have to look at smaller bars like this. Otherwise, you'd be taking the breakout across there. And that's where they'll get you. See how they'll pop up and they'll pull right back into your face and then take off? That's the nature of trading. And I drew this off of an actual chart one night, and then I just, you know, basically superimposed it on the chart, you know, with the different moves so everybody could see how lightning 3, 1, and 2 work. But this is extremely important that we get into this trade right down here in this little sweet spot. Okay, and the way you can tell that's the little sweet spot is mid-band. You can tell if it's a deeper retracement, if it's like line 2 type trades and things like that. We'll go over some of those today too. But I'm going to talk mainly about some of these nice mid-band trades, just waiting on them to come and see you. Let's see, so is it reasonable to say you are usually boxing in on lightning 1, not 3? Oh, absolutely. Now, could you box in on this trade here? Let's say that, you know, this is lightning 3, but here's lightning 1 as it goes down like this. Kind of hard to draw it, but, you know, let's say that it goes all the way down into here and then it starts stair-stepping back up. That's what you're boxing in when it starts stair-stepping back up. Okay, we're not looking at lightning 3 because we don't know when this is going to end right here, but we do know when lightning 1 or lightning 2 starts stair-stepping back. Okay, got that one, huh? That's really good to learn, by the way, because when you see us boxing in, you know, I have people all the time go, well, you know, that's not really, you know, that's not really saying exactly where to get into a trade. Well, it actually is, because you're actually boxing in a trade. And you've got to decide, do you want it on 2 ticks above? Do you want a closed bar? Do you want 3 ticks above? You know, if you want to be absolutely sure something's going up, make it close a whole bar, but then realize that you're going to have to let it go further deep in the box if it breaks out. Okay? All right, so this is what we're going to talk about quite a bit tonight. Let me go ahead and flip over to the chart here. We'll get gold back up here. Where'd you go, gold? Here we go. Bear with me 1 second. All right, so we've got us a little trade setup going, but, you know, keeping in mind that, you know, for instance, could you take a breakout of a box even when it's against the trend? And the answer is yes, because you're going to find a lot of times you can make some coin on it, but you got to be careful doing it. You know, for instance, like right here, what if this gets a higher low right here and then takes out this little swing area right here? Would it be possible that you could get up to mid-band? That's what boxing in is. Okay, but now what we do though, and what we teach is to be safer on the trade, we're looking for the pullback and the rollover. For instance, this is a short trend, in my personal opinion, until it takes out this swing right across here. And it barely took it out right there. See it? Barely took it out right there. So this is still, for all intents and purposes, a downtrend. And by the way, you could have gotten this phantom right here, but we weren't up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So we're going to actually be looking at this. Let's see. Right, yeah, and that's the thing, Louis, and that's what I'm talking about. We're not going to talk about going against the trend. So, you know, don't get confused on it, because I take some against trends sometimes, but as a rule, I stick with the trend myself too. But you got to keep in mind too, though, like for instance, when gold started heading up, it was getting higher lows and higher highs. You know, remember where Charles put his stop on that gold today, and we had that line there? I'm not against taking that trade because I saw that was getting a higher low on both sides of the aisle, and I'll show that in a little bit. Okay, but what you want to do is you want to wait for the retrace, and you just simply draw on your charts, right? Okay, so we're going to draw on our chart. We've already tested this swing right here, right? Already tested it. So we're going to draw another line right here. Now, it hasn't really tested this one except right here where it broke through it. So that kind of negates the test because they haven't tested it since. Okay, so I draw two lines on my charts. Now, if they're going to break up, they're going to actually do something like this. They're going to take out this swing here, and they're going to literally head up with a vengeance. They'll pull back into support, and then they'll take off again. And you will get a green background if they do that. Okay? But what we're looking for right now is we're looking for, you know, probably either here or mid-band. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to really just literally be ready to box this thing right there. And be waiting for the trade to come to you. Now, if it continues breaking down, what would you do? Anybody? Well, you can't get in a thrust, so you got to get a retrace of some kind, right? So if this was to decide to keep breaking down, I would want it to break this swing here. Let's go ahead and draw an arrow, and then I'll draw another arrow. I would want it to break this swing here, and then come back and kiss where it broke down, either here or here. See there? This is what I'm looking for when I'm trading right here. You know, if this was to break down, I'd want it to kiss here and roll over, or even a little higher, like right there where the top of that box is. Oh, that's true. And Louis, you can definitely go against the trend. But, you know, to me, the best way to do that is actually two charts. You know, for instance, if I was to go against this trend right here, you know, the moment this got a higher low and this bar pops up, see how that's a higher low right there? You got a low, a high, maybe a higher low. Could you actually take that trade? It's a possibility, but that's not what I'm going to teach tonight. We're going to stay with, you know, good, nice retracement trades, mid-band trades, and even phantom trades. Okay, so now everybody see what I'm talking about, though. You've got to be ready to box in a trade. You've got to know where you feel by your knowledge of, you know, Viper webinars and everything else, that you know where this is going. Okay. Now, just like when I called on that oil this morning, remember when we said that, you know, this was hitting a bottom and it was going to go all the way to 47. Could you take that long? And the answer is absolutely yes, because, you know, the thing is going to retrace 40 ticks. I mean, in that particular instance, it was 30, wasn't it? From down at that bottom. So if you see them shotgun and you see resistance is quite a ways away, you can take that trade. You know, for instance, if I was going to take this trade, I would probably already be in it with that higher low if I was going to buy this bottom right here. Okay, but we're not going to be talking about this trade, even though more than likely it'll probably work out because they'll come back and test this. Okay, but right now you have a high over here, a low here. Then you have a high, a low, and a higher high. Okay, They match the support right down here, but this is still not changing trends on the left side of the chart. Everybody see that? Because it only took out 59.40 by about 4 ticks. Just 4 ticks is all. And remember, if it's going to break, it would break up above predictors, or pardon me, this phantom area, turn our background and everything green, including the mid-band, and it would come back and kiss. And it might even kiss here. You know, this is 2 areas that I would expect it to kiss if it was to continue breaking down. Would be like this. If it thrust up and pulled back either here and bounced or here and bounced. That's if it broke up. Okay, but if it's going to break down, I expect it to do this right in this area, or this box at least, and then this for a rollover. Okay, now let's change the color of these arrows just so that when people are recording this, they'll know what we're talking about as far as which direction. I'm going to go ahead and we'll do a magenta color, something like that, on this other one here. Yeah, magenta. That way you'll see that the arrow would be short. So we'll do magenta on this one, or deep pink, that's close enough. And then this one, and this one. That way you know the type of trades that we're looking for in these areas right here. Okay, I think everybody can see those, right? All right, so that's literally our trade setup that we're looking for. We're either looking for a rollover at mid-band, which is more likely because it's still heading down, because it hasn't broken to the upside. It barely broke to the upside right there, and that's what they do, is they'll fake those, and then they roll back over, and you got you a nice little short trade. Now, we weren't up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 3:50, so we didn't get this trade. So we're waiting on a retracement trade. Okay, so let's see what it's going to do. We don't even have to put Object Trader on it if you don't want to. We'll just see if we can see the trades. Getting higher lows. All right. Now, what is it doing right now? What is it doing right now? Now, see, this is why you don't want to go against the trend. What if you would have bought this when this bar went right here? See how they took that out already? They'd make you think they were rolling over, and you'd probably hit the short button at the wrong time. That's one of the reasons why we're actually retracement traders in the direction of a trend. Because I fully expect, if this hits its head in this little box here, that, well, frankly, I'd short it. Okay. Let's see, Louis. So, Gary, would you wait for resistance hit, or would you jump in higher highs? Well, no. What you'd want to do is you want to draw on your charts. You got to see where they're going, for one thing. Okay. Stick with the overall trend unless it changes directions. Okay. And then, just be ready for the trade. If this was to decide to break this swing right here and pop up and do a phantom and then come back down and kiss mid-band and take off, we'd change our basically when we get into a little bit lower, but only when it breaks and pulls back. Okay. So in this case right here, let's just box this with Object Trader, and we'll see if we're not correct on it. And if we are, then we'll get us a little trade, right? Okay. So we're trying to get here. We've already been here, but we've been above it. So technically we've been above it, not just at it. Okay. That's really important, by the way. Okay. Because if they've been above it, a lot of times they will check it. So this is 2 areas that you'd be looking for a trade short. Okay. And so if it actually comes above resistance and rolls over, or kisses resistance and rolls, we're going to short it. Okay. That's the way that's taught. All right. So now we've diagnosed our chart. Why not put the line at 1459.80, Kurt? Let's see. Well, because your lightning 3 swing over here and over here. See, this has already been up here. In other words, it's already broken here, but they haven't checked it again since. Okay, so when I see that happen, if they're going to get a lower high, and that's a if, granted, if this was to decide to break up, you could easily change trends too. But I'm looking to the left to trade the right, and I see swing 1, swing 2. Okay, this one is swing 1 of lightning 3. This could be your other swing 2, but I usually like to do low and then high on a short and vice versa on a long. So it's usually a little further away from the other one instead of lower then higher. Okay, let's see, can you please show me how to use Object Trader in a concrete way in live action? Thanks. Sure, we'll put it in there. This is in replay so that we can play it, Franz, on your question, but we can do it where you can actually use the Object Trader. You want to do that? All right, so we've diagnosed the trade, right? All right, now we're not going to get in a trade with just drawing a box. We got to put Object Trader on the chart. So we're going to hit Insert. All right, now remember, Object Trader always draws on the last 2 bars, not counting the one that's forming. Remember I was saying on Saturday that you can have a 4-tick and literally a 5-tick box? Because, very seldom are bars right next to each other in a row. That would be a 4-tick box. But it just looks at the last 2 bars, period, where they open and where they close, and it draws the box. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to actually raise it, and we're going to look at this like a rollover type trade. We're not going to just take it if it kisses resistance, because it could blow through and head on up if it wanted to, right? So we're going to basically box this little puppy in, is what we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to say, okay, we're going to go short outside the bottom of the box, and let's look to the left to trade the right. Thrust, retrace, thrust. That's actually on support right there. See where my box is drawn? Okay, and so I could actually take that trade if it decides to take the bottom of the box out. Let's see, so you wouldn't jump in early high. Oh, you already wrote that. Let's see. Regardless, no, I'm waiting on a case like this, Louis, on your question. With trading with the trend, which is super important, especially if people are not used to trading against the trend, I would highly recommend just trading with the trend. Okay, now let me show you something really important too. Everybody got these arrows. We know where we're gonna go, but I want to take all this off and show you something here real quick. Let me show you something. We'll go ahead and put our region back on. And we'll put our region right where we wanted it. All right, but look at this right here. See where you have this thrust? This happens all the time. You have this thrust. So you've got a support level, right? Okay, now let's do this in more, like you're not seeing it at the time. All right, if you don't take out this low right here. In other words, you have a high, low, lower high, and lower low like this. Like that, then this is not an identified swing. Okay, see how that got a little higher low right there? So, and then that makes it even where this one isn't identified on the left side of the chart. So if you draw your lines ahead of time and you say, okay, that's resistance right there, right? See how it's resistance on the 2 lines right there? And if they decided to take that out by a little bit and then roll back over, you short it. Now, we weren't up at 402, so we didn't get that. But that's what you're looking for. On the left side of the chart, you had I'll draw it even in its full entirety. You had a thrust, you had a retrace, and you had a thrust. That is an identified swing on the left side of the chart. They barely took it out. That is not a trend change. Okay? If this would have been a trend change, they would have done, like I said earlier, they would have taken it up, pulled back, kiss, taken off. Okay? So what we're looking for right now, and see, this didn't do what we said here, for instance. So what they do is they try to check the overall real swing. This is your real swing on the left side of the chart. They barely took it out. So if you were up at 410 in the morning or 450, you would have shorted that. That's a phantom trade, or close enough to one. I think it might have actually flashed it. Let's see if that bar will flash red or not. May not have touched line 6. Probably didn't. Yeah, it didn't touch it. It missed it by a tick. But you could still box it in. Okay, so we diagnosed our chart correctly, right? We've got a swing right across here, as you can clearly see, and you've got a swing right here, as you can clearly see. All right, so this is the area that you're looking for a trade. Now, what I would probably do in a case like this is watch this bar. Let's see if we can just watch it in fairly slow time. Okay, like right here to give an example. See this come up there and come and almost test our line? Could you rebox this little trade like right through there instead now? And you could, right? You don't want to just short it at the top of the box. The only time I use short at top of a box is if it's in a big range. And very seldom do I do that. Can phantom be in a red background? Well, a phantom short can. Well, no. I'm sorry, David, you're right. No, this is not a phantom. This is actually a deep bar probe. See, it barely missed that phantom line. If you look at this, it looks like they might have just missed it by one tick. Okay? Or this would flash. See, the phantom short is not flashing right there. And that would flash red if it was. Doesn't mean you couldn't short it though. Okay? All right, so let's see. No, a phantom will always be in this color background, right? Never even had one on this one. Let's see if we can find the background we need. There's a phantom long. See that background? There's another phantom long background. There's a phantom short right there, line 7, but it turned out to be a trend change. But still, if you take that trade, you just don't let it go against you. That still could turn out to be a good trade. There's a phantom right there too. Okay? So let's get ready and see if we can get this trade. We may have already missed it. It rolled over. Let's give it a little bit of wiggle room and see if we can get it. All right, we're in 2. All right, we're going to put 1 at a target at a swing, and then we would just do a runner, right? Okay, now where would your stop be on this trade? Anybody? Where should you put your stop? Well, I would draw my line right there where resistance is at 58.90 and put my stop just above there with exit on close. Is the way I would do that one. And the reason for that is simply that that's resistance on the left side of the screen. Okay. Now, if you put it all the way up here, you're going to give up too much of your trade, even with 2 contracts. So if this is going to work, it needs to respect that swing right there. Okay, it's already respected it so far. Will it keep respecting it? You don't know yet, because we haven't really had a candle down enough out of that box to even give us a decent trade yet. Okay, so see, we're down like 20 bucks. Notice that Object Trader will let you know if you're down on a trade. If this is green, that means you're making money on it. If it's white, it means you're break even, and if it's red, you're losing money. See, right now it's white, so you're basically breaking even so far. Now it's red again. Let's fast forward this a little bit. What do you think? Feeling a little bit of heat on it so far. We do have resistance there, so we'll trust it. Not going to reverse it though if it breaks that stop. That's resistance. Wow. See how they kiss these resistance areas just really well. And if you put your exit on close like on exit on close, it'll usually protect your trade. Not too bad. Now this is actually going up a little bit. I would have already taken some profit, by the way, but we've got this going about, well, we had it going 50 times, but now it's only going 10. Make that 5 now. All right. So we would put our stop. As soon as this rolls over, we could probably trust this. See how it's trying to roll? You could go ahead and bring your stop to that swing right there on exit on close, just in case. Now, it hadn't identified it yet, and it's getting ready to. There, it's identified. There you go. Got you a trade. Okay? Everybody see that? We didn't move our target in time, but that's not a shabby trade, right? Now, you could be one and done on that one if you wanted to be, okay? But where's your next trade on this chart? Anybody? You always got to look to the left to trade the right. Look to support and resistance. Where have they not checked? Well, they broke down right there. That's a swing also, right? All right. I would think that they would hit their head right there at this area right here myself. We'll see if they do. You want to try it for 10? See if we can get something on that one. And we'll turn this on though only after it hits that line. If it hits that line, it may just keep trucking on down. We'll see. Speed it up a little bit. Now, would you probably take that trade right there? See it? Now, I'd put a tight stop on it because I see it kissing resistance. Now, if it takes out resistance, where could it head? Well, there's a swing over here to the left that they haven't checked yet. Okay? Right over there. Now, I'm not going to put it that high, though, because that's too much loss on my trade. So I'm going to trust this right here and see if it works. It kissed exactly where my resistance is. All right, and we'll see if we can get even, well, let's see, that's 12 ticks. Let's just go for, you want to just go for 10? Some of our people go for 10 every morning in that room. Let's see if we can get it. That's 9, that's 10, and this one's 9, and we'll make it 10. See if we can get it. Now, always look to the left to trade the right if they haven't been there yet. Wow, that almost got us. I'd probably go to at least break even on that little puppy. And we got it. Okay. Now, if this is decide not to head on down, which so far we got us a little 10-tick trade, where has it not checked on the chart? Anybody? Because my favorite trade is when they do an ABC. This did an A and roll, but it rolled right where I wanted it, so I got a quick trade. What if it decides to go higher? Where do you think it'll go? Anybody? Well, it's got resistance right there. Resistance is right here on the next level. See it right there on Lightning 3? So if this was to decide to go up in this area right in here, do you think that might be a good trade? If they do an ABC. This is still not a long though, right, everyone? It's definitely still not a long. Let's see what it does. If it just craters, we'll know where to get in anyway, right? That may be an ABC. No, you got to go to my line. Come on. Oh, I just missed it. Yeah, I missed it. It hit right where I said it would, though. I missed it. I think I'll still take it, though. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take it at least down to that bottom. And then we're going to put our stop nice and tight right across there. See how you can diagnose these charts. And by the way, if you even look at your webinar chart, the black one, you'll find that you can do this just by simply looking at the Lightning 3s because they check them continually. Anytime it takes them, 15 swing strength to check a swing, they're going to use them as support and resistance. And they do it like clockwork. Okay? Now, let's look at this chart. This was 746 right here. Does anybody remember this trade that we got on oil, though, not on gold? Do you remember the oil trade that I called at 755? Let me show you how I figured that out, because this is going to be real. Let's just kill this and we don't care. Let's go to oil. Bear with me a second. We'll get to oil because that's the opening of the market. And let's look and see if everybody can figure out where the trade is. Let's see, in life actions is a bit different than painting a box on a dead chart after. Well, Franz, on your question, I would agree with that, except that we call the trades live in the room, though. Because to give an example, on oil this morning at 7:55 when I opened the room, I think I opened it right at, right at 7:50-ish, 52, 53, something like that. Okay, and we actually took that trade on crude oil. And I'm going to show you exactly how I diagnosed it to get that trade, okay? Now, if you actually were seeing this in real time, you have a high here, a low here, and a lower high here. Could you box this trade right there to take a trade? Say you weren't up at 713, where this actually happened, maybe 720. Can you still see a trade here? Because if you draw on your chart, you'll see that there is a trade there. Just simply put your region, drop it down, and get ready to sell the thing. Okay? Now, we called a trade that was a little lower than this because this is close to the open of the market. All right? 7:59 is when we get our first trade in crude oil. Let me just fast forward this a little bit and I'll show you. Not too fast. We'll just go where we can get to 750-ish. There's when I open the room, right about there. All right. Now, if you boxed it right there, okay, that was breaking your lightning. 1, 2, 3. It was breaking, okay? So that's a decent trade, right? Now, we don't trade before 7:59 as a rule, simply because you can get whipsawed the other direction if you're not careful. Okay, so let me show you how we actually did this trade in the room this morning. We just simply waited for 7:59 to appear. We watched it. Go ahead and just let it do its thing. Now, do you remember this right here? Anybody remember this right here? We actually had a box draw, and the box is drawn with your template. Let's just load your template real quick. This is the template for today. So I'm going to kill Object Trader for just a second. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and put Object Trader back on. All right. And then you're going to look for 7:59. You'll see a little white box draw. Watch your little clock right there. Now, let me ask you a question real quick. We won't go any further. Is this an uptrend? Yes or no? Anybody? And it's not, right? It's absolutely not, because you have a high here, a low here, lower high, lower low. This is your identified swing on your little ABC move, and all they did was checked it. So that's actually a phantom type trade, which we teach. Okay? Now, when this box shows up at 7:59, let me fast forward it just a little bit. All right, see that little white box there? You can actually short that when it comes out of the box. Okay? Now, where I called this trade this morning, though, was right here, and we simply boxed it in like so. We dragged our box because we didn't want to get whipsawed around at that first part of the open, and we just patiently waited for our trade. Okay? What is this so far? Thrust, retrace, thrust. Tried to take out the swing, wicked it, didn't take it out. Okay? If you draw your lightning, you'll clearly see it too. Let me draw it for you. See the lightning right there? They did not take out that lightning with close of a bar. So there was no reason to go long at the open, it was still looking for shorts. Now, if that would have taken that out and come back and kissed it, I would have probably taken it long. But you have to wait, 8 o'clock is good to at least wait. We like to draw our box a minute before, but if you simply wait till 8 o'clock and draw your box, that's fine too. Well, in a micro sense, you're still not, Louis. No, you're actually, now over on this side of the chart, yes. But keep in mind, that was a retracement with a rollover. Okay, so on this side of the chart where we're concerned about, we're not concerned about this over here. We're concerned about this move here. So we have a high, low, lower high, lower low. Okay, could you actually rebox it right there? And the answer is yes. Now, we didn't this morning because we just decided, you know what? I'm not going to take this while it's flim-flamming around. I'm going to wait for a break. And if you look at this, this would be 1, 2, 3, fake. So now 1, 2, and that would be 3. Everybody see what I'm talking about there? 1, 2, 3, but it took that out just a little bit with a wick. So that's now 1, 2, 3. This would be the lightning break if it breaks the bottom of that box. And that's where we took it this morning. You were looking left at 57.47. Well, yeah, but keep in mind that what we're mainly about to begin with is we are phantom traders and we are mid-band traders. We will go against the trend on like a mid-band. Could you at 709, for instance, could you have boxed this and gotten a quick long on that? Yes, it took out that swing to the left. Okay, you could definitely do that. But it's still a phantom because you had a mid-band that was red. Okay. Let's see, you said you take the breakout. I thought you mean when it breaks, you watch out for entries. No, you can actually take the breakout at the open. Where you want to watch for breakouts is don't let them go against you. Okay, if you're already up like, $900 for the day, you don't have to worry about this coming. You can even put your stop at mid-band. Okay, if it breaks. See, now it's trying to break that little swing. We watched this in real time this morning. Everybody remember that? And there's your 2 contracts. This is only allowing 2 because I've got it set for 2. So your max contracts is 2. Okay, and that is the way to take that trade. Now, instantly, you could put your stop at mid-band. You'd probably want to take 1 off, move your target out of the way, and watch for predictors. They're really important. Okay, you'd probably want to take some coin at this swing, but what I normally do is look at a swing like this, and if it blows through it, you keep your target out of the way. Okay, if it bounces there, you just simply close one. Okay, but if it blows through it, then you know that you're at a nice open and it just happened to go your way in a big way, and it did this morning. Okay, now Franz, on your question from earlier, by the way, one reason that we use market replay in the webinars at night is because, frankly, there's just not enough movement to teach. Now, we could get a trade or two, probably. I've seen Charles do some webinars like that in the past where he'd, pull up 4 charts and ask the team, what they thought about each one and things like that. But while you're teaching, you're not really trading as much. This is actually off of trades that were called this morning. This was a legitimate trade that was called this morning in real time that a lot of our people made really good money on. So they work out quite nice. Now, if you saw this lightning, see your high, low, lower high, lower low, could you drop your stop? Yes. See how that blew through that? Now, real quick, do you have to take this off the table just because it hit a swing? No. That's why you want to move your target out of the way. Now, if they zigzag down and they hit that bottom like that and then start bouncing, you get out of at least one of them. Okay? Now, one thing I want to teach you to see also, though, that I think is really, really important, okay, are these predictors. Because predictors can make a world of difference in your trading. You watch for a predictor to show up, and you'll be surprised how those predictors will show up on your chart at those opportune times that you can flat get out of a trade. Or if they don't show up, then don't let it stair step back up on you. So what I normally do in a case like this, see where this is hesitating right here? If this doesn't go ahead and take out that low really soon, I would buy to cover one of those. See, like it's trying to not do it right now. And then if it does it, we're going to be fine. You could, now here's another way. Let me show you another way that you can do this too. See this little swing it made just right there? You can actually pull your region and scale out of a trade if it happens to go into the top of that region, or pardon me, the bottom of that region, which would be an inside trade. See the inside touch +2? So if this decides to go in there, I could get out of 1. And if it doesn't, you just stay with the trade. But your key to trading this is right now, they are stair-stepping down, stair-stepping down. If they take this out, they are no longer stair-stepping down. Could you get out of this trade if it closed above that? Let's say that you said, you know what, I'm going to let it close like, or touch 3 ticks above that swing right there. And if it does, then I'm out of my trade totally by taking 2 contracts off. Okay. We even talked about this trade this morning in the room too. When you get lightning that quits going down, it's not time to take a long yet, but it's time to start protecting your coin. Okay. So you just keep watching it. You got lightning, now you got lightning again. See there? Just like that. I could scale out, or I could simply just bring my stop down there if I wanted to also. Either way, you know, I usually like to not use my stop. I actually scale out of mine lots of times, because scaling out can be just as good as, you know, just the stop itself, because I might forget that I had reverse on or something. You don't want to do that. Okay, let's see. So when we look left, we don't look at 50 and 40. Well, what you're looking at is always, you're looking at a stair step down on the left and then a stair step up on the right. But it doesn't have to be your larger swings always. You look at your larger swings for resistance and support, but you look at your minor for your trade. Okay, like for instance, when we were in the room this morning, you know, I mentioned this trade right here. You could definitely have taken 68. I didn't trust it because it had already made that swing when we opened the room before the box was drawn. So I just simply said, nope, you got to take that out. And that turned out to be very less risky, because look at this one. If you had just gotten wicked in this one, you know, it went back in your face a little bit, or it just broke and kept on going. Depends if you had Chart Trader on it or not. Okay. Now, if you're a gutsy trader and you want to actually go against a trend, if it starts stair stepping back the other way, you can get long. Okay. You got to be careful doing that though, because you got to do it more on, you know, just going for scalps, because as long as this is heading down, it's not really heading up, obviously. Now, do you remember where this little trade this morning in the room actually got long though? And can anybody see it ahead of time? Can you see it ahead of time? See how it's hesitating right here with like 5 bars? You can always lag it back one if you want to, or you can use power meter to get out. You know, instead of a region, use power meter. If it goes green, get out. Same thing. Or you can use the trend line, like the wedge. See, it's already doing that. I'd put it there with stealth and something like that. And if it touches it, you get out of the trade. Touches it +1. Didn't do it yet. But can you actually do this type? And by the way, you could use stealth too. You can actually wait for it to close above stealth. You've got a stop in here, like line 2 to give an example. Let's say I want to do line 2 and engage my trail. If it touches line 2, close of a bar to get out of the trade. That's the one I called this morning in the room, remember? And you're flat. Okay? Now, if this was to decide to go up, what do you think it would do? Anybody? There's resistance right there at mid-band. Do we talk about all the time boxing in at mid-bands even? What if this decided, I'll just fast forward a little bit and show you what it actually did because I took it. It's right at resistance right there. Could you actually box this little trade in just in case it decides to go up or down? Well, the reason that we did that this morning is because I said, if this thing boxes, if this thing breaks, they're no longer heading to the downside anymore. And we even talked about when it was at line 6 to box it in. Let me just show you how it transpired. Because I think Charles got in late and so did I. Right in through here, see how it did this right here? See how you're getting higher, low, and everything? Could you box this little trade in? Like so? And take the trade? Absolutely. And you could box it this way just in case it decided to break down too. Okay? When they get around this mid-band and everything and they bounce profusely, at these bottoms and everything, that was not looking to stop at mid-band. That's why we picked that trade this morning, because this actually was taking out resistance. Here's resistance again at 56. And if it takes that out, it's really no longer heading down. And it's above a mid-band to begin with. You could already be long on this trade, by the way, because we teach this trade right through here. Just like that. If it pops up, kisses, and takes off again, and that's what it basically did. What does everybody think about boxing in? It's a pretty good way to trade, isn't it? Let's see. Louis says, Gary, Charles uses volume bars. What's the main thing you look at when looking at the volume bar? I don't. I really don't. I'm one of those that gets into this bit about, I personally look at it like paralysis by analysis. Now, if you want to put volume bars on your charts, and lots of people are doing it, that's fine. I personally could care less about volume bars. And even the prior day open, low, close, and all that, I don't really care about that either, because I draw my charts and I catch them anyway. Because, for instance, if this was to break to the upside, where would it go? Well, it's got a resistance right there. That's not very far up. It's got a resistance right here. That's a little further up. That'd be a pretty nice little trade. Okay? It's got resistance up here at 89. That would be a really nice trade. Okay? Let's see, Kurt says, I'm just not experienced enough to go against the trend yet. Well, the one thing you want to do is, if you go against a trend, I'd highly recommend looking at trend lines and things like that. Let me get rid of horizontal lines here just real quick and raise. We won't get rid of the rectangle. And that's all. All right. If you drew a trend line across these tops here, see this 89 to 86 or even here to here, that's breaking that trend line. That's no longer heading down. Now, it broke this trend line way down here. See, if you basically drew it in right there. So technically, that was starting to break up right through here. And I even called it this morning. I said if this takes out line 2, it's going to go all the way to 47. I said that, remember? Anybody remember in the room this morning? Why did I say that, by the way? Because it didn't have any swings to check. Once it broke this swing here, there was no swings here. Maybe that one right there. But then if you look to the left, it was all the way up here and then all the way up here. That's why. You've got to look at how it zigzags. If this would have zigzagged differently, let's say it would have done this and then something like this and then something like this. That's a whole different story. Okay? But it didn't do that. It just went straight down. So when you look to the left to trade the right, you say, okay, you headed straight down. As a matter of fact, if you looked at 8-range bars, it was probably straight down without any kind of retracement. So when you look to the left, and I mentioned in the room this morning, if it hits its head at 47, you might look for a rollover. It blew right through it. So then we said, well, if it looks at 56, you could look for a rollover. But then you could get ready to box it to begin with because it was above midband. Gary says he got 67 ticks on that move. Sweet. Did you get it down in here somewhere or down in here? Yeah, you can get it literally down in here. There's no question about it. If you know how to box and you see what's going on at the time and you see your swings and everything, if you want to take that trade, you can. Trend line looks great, but I haven't mastered it yet. Basically, markets go up, down, and sideways if you know where to put it. Well, drawing trend lines is definitely an art. And they're a lot easier to draw in charts after it's happened. There's no question about that. But you can draw them in real time too. You just have to, look for the lightning. Now, when it's straight down like this, I wouldn't draw lightning like this, for instance, like real tight like that. Because let's say that you had done that. Let's just say you'd said, you know what, this is breaking lightning. I'm going to go long. Well, guess what? It could have easily popped up above the line and then shot it right down because that's a major downtrend. So I wouldn't trade a trend line that. Trend lines to me that work are a little bit more at these 45-degree angles. If you draw them that tight, they'll eat your lunch. Now, where would you put your stop immediately in getting in this trade? Anybody? There's your identified swing right there. That's still 12 ticks, right? If it pops up, we'll put it here. But until it does, you can't, because that's your identified swing right there. And that's always the inherent thing of breaking out. Even if you do it with wicks or ticks, 2 ticks above or whatever, you're going to always have to trust the lightning. And watch what lightning actually does. I'll just fast forward a little bit. Now, where could you put your stop? Anybody? Right there. Whoop, I put it in the wrong spot. Just a second. Keep it right there at that swing. If it breaks up, we'll put it elsewhere. See? Just like that. Where now? Right there. And it already hit our target. Okay? Now that's a beautiful way to trade, by the way. And just so that you know, this morning in the room, this is going over how to trade it with a box. But this trade was called, and this trade was called. And that's all you had to hit for the morning was right there. Those 2 trades. And I didn't even go over the Russell that we called. It was 200 ticks. You're going to keep what engaged, Kurt? Oh, an identified swing, Gerard? I'll be happy to go over that. And then we're going to have to wrap here pretty soon. Identified swings are extremely important to your trading because there are 3 different ones on your chart. Okay, let me get that lightning again. Bear with me a second. There it is. Okay, identified swing simply means that the swing has identified, we're looking at a long trend right now, okay? So it's identified the low by taking out the swing to the left. It's identified the low by taking out the swing to the left. Identified the low by taking out the swing to the left. Anytime it does that, then it's stair-stepping up, and you can trust that, okay? Especially for tight stops. Now, if you want looser stops, then use something like Lightning 2. Because see, on this, let's just take this one for instance. Let's say you got in way down here. You get a high. You don't know this is a low yet, right? Until it takes out that swing. That's when it identifies itself. Identified swings are the thing that opened my eyes to trading like never before. It was like an epiphany one night, like almost 10 years ago. Okay? Because when you take out this swing right here, and sorry, I'm not drawing that exactly right, but you take that out right there, then that is an identified swing right there. And then when it takes this out over here, that's an identified swing. When it takes this out here, that becomes an identified swing the moment it takes that out. With the close of a bar, that is. Okay? When's this one become identified? Right here. And if you'll teach yourself to trade with identified swings, it'll make a world of difference in your trading. That's your identified swings on your Lightning 2. What about your identified swings over here the same way? All right, high, low, took out the swing. That became your identified swing, right? Same thing here when it took that out. Same thing here when it took this out right here, right? And so on and so on. And you can see it as it goes up. It's hard to draw on this. This doesn't let you draw straight lines. This is a paint tool. That's what it is. Okay? Show how to go from sim to live account while using OT. Well, Stephen, on your question, what you do on that, and let me just show you the video, because I've got this in replay mode, so I can't go to live to begin with. But I'll show you how you do it. You go to your control panel. First off, you've got to turn off Global Sim. That's extremely important. Okay, because without Global Sim turned off, you can't trade live at all. And you have to make sure that your license key, I'm not going to show this one, by the way, because that's our actual license key, but you make sure your license key is not a sim key. Okay, it has to be a NinjaTrader live key. Okay, and once you have that, you just simply, with your Global Sim turned off, when you go to Object Trader and go to Strategies, when you click on this, this becomes a drop down, and then you just set it to your live account. Now, like I said, we're in replay, so it's not going to drop down to any live account because it's not on that kind of it's about a 7 or 8 minute video. Okay, let's see. Gary, would you say Lightning 3 would be a good place to start to draw trend lines and practice trades? Louis, on your question, yes, but that's going to get you in late. Okay, you got to be careful with that. Now, let me ask you a quick question. We watched this in real time yesterday, or today, I mean. High, low, higher, high. Where's the identified swing on this chart? Right here on the left. It's right there. What if they take it out? Is that taking it out on the left side of the chart? That went straight up, but that's an identified swing. We talked about boxing this in at mid-band. It never gave us a trade. Remember, we were going to box it and take it up. It never gave it to us. What if it breaks that? Could you box this in with your little region? And take a trade if it takes it out? And you're thinking, well, wait a minute, there's a phantom there. Yeah, but it broke to the left. If you want to take a shot at it, put your stop nice and tight just in case you're wrong. It took out the swing to the left. There's another one right there that it's trying to test. It just did. There's another one right down here that it's going to try to test if it can. You can always take a trade at like a mid-band, just like we did here on the long. Okay, because when it's stair-stepping up, see those identified swings? I mean, this was a no-brainer this morning. Technically, you could have been in way down here. You could have been way down here if you wanted to be. That trade I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot crowbar. But this trade right here, where it starts breaking and starts stair-stepping up, we boxed this right here and we said, you know what? This is no longer heading down anymore. This thing's doing a V shape, and that's exactly what it did. And I caught that move, and I even talked about it in the room as it was going. Okay, I hope this helped everybody, because if you'll really learn to, the most important things on your chart are these right here. This is so important, is where these identified swings are. And if you learn to see that as your stops and everything, you'll be amazed at how much better you'll trade. Because why would you want to hold this trade? Let's say you got this one I called this morning. Why would you want to go from here to here and then go all the way back to mid-band on your stop? So let me calculate that out for you. Let's say you put your stop at mid-band and you got in at 62. All right, let's say, and you didn't get in at 62 because you had to wait for the bar to at least go 2 ticks. So let's say you got in at 60 or even 59. How's that trade for you? 9 ticks? No. not with oil, because there's your stop right there. See your lightning? That's an identified swing right there. That's an identified swing then. See it? Low, high, lower, low. And now this is an identified swing over here. The left, though, was taken out at 32. See there? And that was called out in the room this morning, too. Like I said, I hope this helped tonight, because this is the type of trading that we do every single day. And we also watch what's actually, you know, it's kind of nice in the room because we're actually watching it also, like how quick it's doing things, you know, what's really happening. You know, we didn't even call a phantom trade on this trade earlier today. I even mentioned, no, it ain't no phantom. It's heading down. Okay. Now, where would you get out of this trade? Anybody? Well, first off, put your target to a previous swing. See, there's a swing there. They've already taken it out. So let's try to go here now instead. So we'll go to that swing right there, and then we'll ride our runner. But let's just pretend that you got this trade this morning, and you got your target, and watch your identified swings and tell me when you'd get out of this trade. Anybody, just tell me when you get out of this trade. Look to the left, trade the right. Not yet. Your swing's right up here. Your swing may be here now, though. See it? Trying to take out the low. See that? You always get, there you go. Always got to look to the left, though. Just because this stair stepped up a little bit meant nothing. The swing was right here. See it? High, low, lower high, lower lows. It was just trying to get back there and test that, and it couldn't do it. Now, granted, if you got short way up in here, that was going to give up your money again. And I did say this morning, remember we boxed it? I said if it goes back in that box, we're going to get out. It didn't. And it was because of the lightning swing. Now, where's the lightning swing? Anybody? Right there. Put your stop just right above there. Exit on close. And I don't know if it took it or not, but let's see. Yep, got it. Okay, that's how you trade this right here. That's exactly how you trade it. Watch to the left, trade the right, look at support and resistance. Always look at your lightning threes. They're extremely important. And draw your lines on your charts. And where they haven't been, they're going to go. And you'll be able to, especially when they're around these mid bands and these phantoms, that's those sweet spot areas that you're going to look for those trades. Okay? And we'll do this again tomorrow. Hope everybody enjoyed this webinar. And we'll do this in the morning for real. And keep in mind, of course, this week, you know, Wednesday is our last trading day. The markets are open somewhat on Thursday even, which you can get up and trade if you want to. I'm not going to. But then on Friday, they close again at 12. There's really no reason to trade half days because they can chop you up. You got to be careful on your trading, and they can go so slow and then all of a sudden move. So, you know, I highly recommend against trading on Thursday and Friday, but it's your money. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will do this tomorrow. But remember again, that short was called and that long was called. And those two right there could make you well over $1,000. Okay. Thanks everyone.